Welcome to This is Baseball. Today I'm going to go over the 5 wildest trades for the Atlanta Braves in the past decade. Starting with the wildest trade of them all, we have when the Braves acquired Dansby Swanson, Ender Inciarte, and Aaron Blair for then breakout star Shelby Miller and pitching prospect Gabe Speier. Miller had just come over to Atlanta in 2025 in the Jason Hayward deal with the Cardinals, and in his lone season as a Brave, Miller had a career year, putting up 3.7 WAR in 200 innings, and flash times of pure dominance, as Miller came within 1 out of being the first Brave to throw a no-hitter since 1994. But things didn't go as planned once Shelby went to the desert, and his career's been up and down ever since, but he's hung on, and this year even signed a deal with the Diamondbacks to pitch out of their bullpen. Now, we all know how this went for Atlanta. Not only did they receive the number 1 overall draft from the year prior to Dansby Swanson, but also top 100 pitching prospect Aaron Blair and 3-time Gold Glove outfielder Ender Inciarte. Now, despite the top 100 prestige, Blair debuted but never made any impact in the majors. Ender would immediately plug into the top of Atlanta's lineup and provide solid offensive numbers while playing elite defense, making him a 3-4 win player for his first 3 years in Atlanta while still playing on his rookie contract. And a year later in 2016, Dansby Swanson would join him, as the former number 1 overall pick started out slow in the bigs, but eventually cemented himself as a top shortstop in all of baseball, helping lead his hometown team to a World Series title in 2021 before exiting for free agency and signing with the Cubs after the 2022 season. Now, what could be more wild than trading your closer and one of your starting outfielders? Well, what about doing it on opening day? Well, that's exactly what the Braves did when they shipped Craig Kimbrell and Melvin Upton Jr. off to the Padres in exchange for Cameron Maybin, Carlos Quentin, Matt Wisler, Jordan Parabek, and a competitive balance pick. Now, y'all probably don't recognize most of the names on here. Carlos Quentin was a veteran on a large contract, so he was only included as a way to balance out the money side of things, and so the Braves designated him for assignment later that day, and he was released 10 days later. Jordan Parabek was traded to the Dodgers in July for cash considerations, and he never ended up making it out of A-ball. Cameron Maybin had a bounce-back year for the Braves in 2015, putting up 1.3 WAR with a 93 weighted runs created plus. And on November 20th, 2015, the Braves traded Maybin to the Tigers for Ian Kroll and Gabe Speier. Matt Wisler was a top 100 pitching prospect at the time, who eventually made his debut for Atlanta in 2015, but could never figure out major league pitching, and on July 30th, 2018, the Braves traded Matt Wisler, Lucas Sims, and Preston Tucker to the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for Adam Duvall. Now, you might think this trade is over, right? But what about the competitive balance pick? Well, it just so happens that that pick would become the 41st selection in the 2015 draft. And with it, the Braves selected a young third baseman out of high school from Mississippi by the name of Austin Riley. So yeah, I think the Braves may have not gotten the win they thought they were going to get out of that deal, but Riley sure as heck makes up for it in the end. Bringing us to our next wild trade, and that's when the Braves acquired Chris Sale in exchange for Vaughn Grissom. Chris Sale is a borderline Hall of Fame pitcher who would have never even been available if it weren't for injuries dramatically cutting into his playing time since 2020, as he didn't pitch in 2020 due to Tommy John surgery and only pitched a total of 42 innings in 2021. Ribs, pinkies, and wrists limited Sale to 5 innings in 2022, and in his big year back in 2023, he dealt with more injuries as he only tossed 100 innings. With only 1 year and $27.5 million remaining on his contract, the then rebuilding Red Sox made the decision to trade the former Cy Young Award winner along with $10 million to Atlanta in exchange for the former first-rounder Vaughn Grissom. And what a mistake for Boston that was, as Chris Sale came to Atlanta and absolutely dominated, mowing batters down at an elite rate and seeing his walk rate return to his elite levels of the past. All of this was good for 6.4 WAR, which was first in the majors among all starting pitchers in 2024, and it earned Sale his second Cy Young Award, and this time in the National League. Sale also signed a 2-year, $38 million extension with Atlanta. Now, Grissom has struggled in his time in Boston, and with their now insanely potent young lineup, it doesn't look like Grissom has much of a spot in Boston's future. Bringing us to our next wild trade, and it's when the Braves acquired Matt Olson from the A's in exchange for Christian Pache, Shea Langeliers, Ryan Cusick, Joey Estes. Now, what was so wild about this trade was that it slammed the door shut for, at the time, lifelong Brave Freddie Freeman to return to Atlanta. And 4 days later, Freddie Freeman would end up signing his mega deal with the Dodgers. Pache was the centerpiece of that deal, but he only lasted a year in Oakland before the Athletics traded Pache to the Philadelphia Phillies in exchange for Billy Sullivan. Shea Langeliers has quietly become a solid starting catcher for the Athletics, and Joey Estes gave them .7 WAR out of the pen in 2024, while Ryan Cusick was designated for assignment by them. But how about Matt Olson for Atlanta? 54 home runs in 2023, and in his 3 years in Atlanta, he's had 2 good years and 1 monster year. If it wasn't for losing Freddie and how well he's done in LA, I think that Braves fans wouldn't be so hard on Matty O, but it is what it is, and while this one's a wild one, it's probably going to get even wilder in the future. Bringing us to another wild trade that the Braves made with the Athletics and the Brewers when the Braves acquired Sean Murphy, while the Athletics received Manny Pena, Kyle Mueller, Freddie Tarnok, and Robert Salinas from Atlanta. The Athletics also received Esteury Ruiz from the Brewers, and in exchange the Brewers received William Contreras and Justin Yeager from Atlanta, along with Yoel Payamps from Oakland. Now, for Oakland's haul, Pena was a veteran who only played 4 games for the A's before being released. Kyle Mueller saw some time in the bigs with the A's in 2023 and 2024 before ending up in the Japanese Professional League for the 2025 season. Freddie Tarnok got a cup of coffee in the bigs with the A's in 2023 before being claimed off waivers by the Phillies in 2024. Salinas is still in the minors, but it doesn't look like he's going to make an impact for them in the majors. Ruiz put up 1.2 WAR for the A's in 2023 and negative .3 WAR for them in 2024 before being traded to the Dodgers in exchange for right-hander Carlos Duran. So that leaves the A's with only Salinas left from the deal. Sean Murphy came over to Atlanta and was an absolute stud in 2023, putting up 4.9 WAR with 130 weighted runs created plus, making him one of the best catchers in all of baseball. 2024 saw Murphy go down with an oblique injury, but he still showed glimpses of the star that he was in 2023 and before. But what about the Brewers? They received Yoel Payamps, who has been excellent for them, giving them 70 innings of 1.2 WAR ball out of the bullpen for them in 2023 and 59 innings of .6 WAR ball for them in 2024. They also received Justin Yeager, who hasn't yet made it above AA, but has some insane strikeout numbers. But the name that hurts the most has gotta be William Contreras. The younger brother of former All-Star catcher Wilson Contreras, Williams had already given the Braves plenty of glimpses of what he could become as he struggled in his cup of coffee in 2021, but put up 2 WAR and half a season's worth of bats in 2022 thanks to his 139 weighted runs created plus. Now, his defense was absolutely raw at that point, and there was plenty of people who didn't think Contreras would even be able to stick defensively behind the plate. There's even reports that the Braves pitchers flat out just did not like throwing to Contreras, which might have influenced things. Now, whether that influenced things or not, we don't know, but one thing's for sure, the Brewers absolutely came out on top in this trade, while the Braves are still winners, at least on paper, but like winners with a bad taste in their mouth. But anyways, that'll do it for this one. Be sure to subscribe, and as always, I hope y'all have a wonderful day.